We've done a lot of studying this week.
We've thrown a few in, yes. Some are stronger than others, but
Well, I hope
a
it's
few
more than
horses
just throwing them in. I mean, you've hand-picked.
we've carefully
You had a
selected.
short list of about 25, which you've reduced.
Really, absolutely.
Well, you probably have got a lot more on your long list, haven't you?
Well, I try and watch every race that's
What?
shown out of the races.
Do you?
I try and watch every race anyway, but I must admit it's hard in the summer. On the flat, I've not watched a summer jumps race all summer, but I try and watch most races if I can.
When do you start turning your attention to the jumpers?
Probably around next month when we start getting back to the big meeting at Cheltenham.
Yeah.
But I will be paying a lot of attention to the all-weather as well this year because it's very difficult to concentrate on both and
There are
on the
winners
day
to
to
be
day.
found on the all-weather.
Well, I think most people who read the column would rather I just went where I feel I'm more likely to find winners. And I
Winners
think
are what
that's
they want.
Yeah, so yeah, there are not many of those lately, Robert.
Don't care whether it's, even if you found the winner of the Jugette, we'd be pleased. That's a big harness race, and you looked a bit puzzled there.
Yeah,
by
I've seen a trailer for it, so I'm aware
It's
of what
at,
it is. I can't say I'm familiar with it, but I'm aware of what it is now.
Delaware, is it? I think it is. Delaware Campfields or something. Oh, County Fair. I knew it was something like that. But they have the jug and the jugette and the ladette, no, the bucket. That's right, the ladette. Anyway, I'm getting off the point. Let's start with our Eyecatchers. Starting at the 3-day meeting at Yarmouth last week, on the Tuesday, on the first day. This is a horse of Marco Botti's. Might have been quite a decent maiden fillies race. Sir Michael Stout's won it a few times before, and he did win it this year with a filly called Ultrasonic. Beat a filly of Roger Varian's called Shalik by a head. They hadn't raced before. And neither of the one that caught your eye. 7th place, Grazer.
Yeah, cheaply bought filly by Motivator. I think this might be the most interesting of the Eyecatchers
Can
this
you
week.
point her out again as we watch?
Yellow, sort of grey with the yellow cross belts.
Yes,
so
I can see it.
three
Yeah, yeah.
behind.
Yep.
Very slowly away, lost 3 or 4 lengths at the start. Worth watching the whole race. Got one smack behind the saddle there. And then wasn't given a hard time at all thereafter. Bear in mind, this is a 6-furlong race and she's by Motivator, who's a major influence for stamina in his stallion career so far. And although she's out of picture a little bit in the closing stages, she stays on really nicely, I thought, under a considerate ride that you'd expect first time out. She lost a lot of ground at the start. I thought that was a really, really good debut. She's bred to be suited by much, much further. And to show that degree of ability and get that close enough in a Yarmouth maiden, and Yarmouth maidens at this time of year, as you suggest, are usually okay.
They are okay, I think.
I really like that effort. She was a huge price and she was cheaply bought, but
40 to 1
I didn't think there was a fluke.
She was
about
nibbled
that.
at. She was back from 50s to 40s. Whether we see her again this season, she might be given another run, mightn't she?
Yeah, and I can't emphasise how 6 furlongs. I'm not surprised she was that price because you wouldn't expect a Motivator filly over 6 furlongs on her debut to be that competitive. So, and given that she started slowly, she travelled really strongly during the race as well for a long way. So there's lots to like about that.
Okay, that's Grazer, Tyrrell making her debut for Marco Botti. Later on, a horse with more experience, it was on the same card, Hugo Palmer, who's done very well in his first full year as a trainer. As I was talking to him at Lingfield later on in the week, he's only took out his licence earlier this year, so things have gone quite well. Soap Wars is the horse we can have a look at here. This is in a 5-furlong handicap, finishes 2nd under Seb Sanders.
Yeah, he's obviously an exposed 6-year-old, but I thought he showed like he was in really good form here because although it's a small field, his jockey just has to wait, and the eventual winner, who's on the rails, Secret Millionaire, kicks ahead 2 furlongs out and builds up a big lead. Meanwhile, Soap Wars in the black colours, he's now starting to thread his way through, but the winner's gone. He's got 4 or 5 lengths, and although he gradually eats into that lead and he pulls clear of the remainder, he's got no chance of catching the winner from where he started off. But I thought he showed enough to suggest he's really in good form at the moment. And I also included him because he's got form on the all-weather as well, and he's still fairly treated, although I think he's rated about 85 at the moment. I don't think he's gone up for that. And he's one to keep an eye on either for back-end turf, ordinary sprint handicap, or on the all-weather.
And the front 2, he got beaten a length and 3/4 in the end by Secret Millionaire, but they were 5 lengths clear of the rest. Bronze Bow headed the rest, and he's rated the same as the Soap Wars. So
yeah, and he gave the winner a long start. He just got trapped a little bit behind the horses that weren't going anywhere. And to me, he shaped it just as well as the winner, I thought, but he hasn't gone up in the weights for it.
And have you noticed Hugo Palmer's horses? I was giving him a
Definitely,
little
it's his first season, and he's obviously learnt well. He was with Hughie Morrison for a while, and I think he's had a spell with Gay Waterhouse in Australia, and he was with Patrick Chammings as well before that. And he's got a very good strike rate. He's only run a small number of horses. I think he's only run about 10 horses as far as I'm aware, but I think he's won with 5 of them. And his strike rate's around 17 or 18%, which for a first season trainer is very good. So he's made a very good start.
And I can't remember the name of the filly that ran in a sales race. I think it was a filly. Anyway, a valuable sales race in Ireland on Sunday. But there were several British runners, and the horse ran extremely well. So he doesn't overphase them. So it was a good start to his career. Look out for Soap Wars. Our next one is a horse of Rod Millman's now, called Smart Affair, running in a maiden, a 7 furlong maiden. We're back at Folkestone this time. This is also on Tuesday. The ground here was good to soft. What do you like about Smart Affair?
Well, this is the one from left field for this week. She's beaten a long way. She just passes a few in the closing stages, but she was at the middle of the track, which we've spoken about on this programme before. Wasn't really the place to be.
It's definitely not the place to be.
It's certainly not. I mean, I threw up a stat the other day where I think there's been 9 5-furlong handicaps at Folkestone this year, and apart from the horse of George Baker's, Billy Ray Valentine, who won impressively there yesterday, they've all been won by one of the top 2 stalls. This filly, she's shown a glimmer of promise and no more than that in 3 starts so far, but she's by Trade Fair, and I just remember when Trade Fair's first 2-year-olds came on the market and were at the sales, a lot of people were saying they look backward types would take a bit of time, and that's proved the case. He hasn't had many early maiden winners. And I think, judging on what James Millman's said on Twitter, they're going to put this filly away now, bring her back on the all-weather in the winter. And she's been given a handicap mark of 48, and she might be a different proposition. She's not good enough to win a maiden by any means, as you saw there, but 3 starts.
Was that her third
That was
start?
her
That's
third
her
start.
third start.
She's been given a mark of 48. She did show a little bit of ability, but she's been very green as well on all her starts. And she might just be one who, January Wolverhampton, she'll suddenly win a race or 2 off a very, very lowly mark. And the Millman stable has had a really, really good year, one of their best year for some time, I would say. And she might be another who can win a race.
I must start logging these things, because I know I might be that man at Wolverhampton in the middle of January. It's usually sort of the time of year I go there, and suddenly I'll see Smart Affair and know it rings a bell. I'm not quite sure how. But there you are.
Well, as we said last week, the Eyecatchers do usually appear on the At the Races YouTube website, and also at the bottom right-hand corner of the homepage, the At the Races website.
No, we can check up on them, that's for sure. Okay, our 4th one now is trained by Ed de Giles. Had a winner yesterday, actually, the Giles stable. Pat Cosgrave rode Flame of the Forest. This is in a handicap at Folkestone again, over... How far are we this time? 6 furlongs.
Yeah,
Finishes second.
That's the key, because I backed him against the favourite, but the favourite won quite easily in the end, Silencio, but it runs again today, I think. But Flame of the Forest.
She was cheek pieced for the first time.
Wearing cheek pieces for the first time, and had been in really good form, but he just needs to return to 7 furlongs, I think. He's never quite getting there. And bear in mind, he was up against probably a really well handicapped one here, Silenzio, who I thought might struggle to get looking running, but in fact there was never any doubt about who was going to win. But you can see Flame in the Forest never near a finish, had been shaping really well on his 2 previous starts over 7 furlongs, and I think back at 7 furlongs he's running well enough.
7 furlong
handicap.
Run-of-the-mill
7 furlong handicap he can win.
And goodness knows there are quite a few of those, so we can keep a lookout for Flame of the Forest. Our next one now is Lord of the Storm. We're going back to Yarmouth now, in a race for Danny Wright Memorial Selling Stakes, over 1.25 miles. And Lord of the Storm here finishes 3rd, beaten just over 3 lengths.
Yeah, and possibly went home a bit soon, but also might want a drop-in trip. He's got form around 7 furlongs and a mile. And you can see it looks like he's going to win here. He kicks 2 or 3 lengths clear, and... Okay, these are moderate horses.
He has won a couple of saddles, hasn't he?
But I think they were all around 7 furlongs and a mile.
Right.
And I just think he showed here that he's back in form, but he just runs out of puff in the final 100 yards, and he gets collared right on the line. And I thought he went through that like the best horse, and he's been dropped a few pounds. He was a weak seller, but he's been dropped a few more pounds as a result of that. And he might just be the sort who's ready to win again now, having been out of form. He definitely went with far more spark there than he had done for some time. So.
And he's a very, very able trainer. Bill Turner will definitely find something for him.
He deals with very cheaply bought horses, but he's quite good at getting races
ounce
out
of ability out of
them.
them, exactly. So that's Lord of the Storm, one to look out for. Our next one, again at Yarmouth, this is Athenes Pearl. We can see in action. This is Athenes Pearl running in a handicap, a 7 furlong handicap, finishing second here under Shane Kelly, trained by Dean Ivory, this filly, finishing half a length second behind Swansea Jack of Stuart Williams. Yeah,
and Swansea Jack, I think was in first-time headgear and certainly bounced back to form, and Athenes Pearl was in a way unluckily to run into him for first thing, but there's also further promise because she's lightly raced this year, and she's usually shaped as though she's better at a mile than 7 furlongs. You'll see by the way she finishes off here, the front two pull right away in the final furlong, and you'll see that she looks like she's probably going to be suited by the step back up to a mile. She's got very good form on the all-weather as well.
Maybe we'd see her back on the all-weather again.
Yeah, because her form in all-weather handicaps, she's had 5 starts in handicaps on the all-weather. She's never been. She may have been prepping quietly for the all-weather, and that was a really good run if that's the case. She's gone up £3 for that, but I think she's still off a competitive enough mark.
Right, our next one, this is the third and final day of Yarmouth 3-day meeting last week, and this is a maiden for 2-year-olds, 1 mile. It was won by David Lanigan's newcomer Main Sequence. I'm glad David Lanigan's horses are running well again. 50-1 that one won out. But the one that catches your eye here, finishes 6th, also having a first run, is Tafawak.
Yeah, I just thought he went like he needed the run. He kicks ahead here, and he looks like he's probably the most likely winner at this stage in the black cap, and I think he just raced like fitness was an issue. I didn't think he was wildly green or anything like that. He just doesn't finish his race out to the line like some of the others do, and with that in mind I think he'll be sharper next time. It'll be interesting to see whether they keep him to a mile next time, because if they keep him to a mile, that will be, to my mind, an indicator that Connections feel that it was fitness rather than lack of stamina that beat him. It's always a difficult one to weigh up when you see a horse fade on its first start. I tend to think it pays to view a first start fade as lack of fitness rather than lack of stamina. And if he runs over a mile, that might be a pointer that it was indeed. Okay. He wasn't completely cherry ripe, but I thought he shaped as though he'd got a lot of ability.
I was just reading the form book comments there, Hugh, and just saying that the workman-like scopy sort of horse, but it was awkward leaving the stalls, and so might have been a greenness there as well.
Might have been there. Yeah, it was the first time he's left the stalls in a
I know.
Race anyway. So yeah, you kind of expect that as well, but I think there's improvements come from him.
Tafawak of Roger Varians. Put that one in your notebook. And next one, this is I was at Lingfield on Friday. This was the most eventful race here because the best backed horse all day was Talk of the North of Hugo Palmer's, that had a nightmare run. 4 better, a newcomer Jamie Osborne's was the winner. You could make a case for Surrey Storm, who was 3rd, Elbow Beach, who was 4th. But the one you like, trained by Amy Weaver, Sweet Scott, was 6th. I must say, I didn't look at Sweet Scott. What happened that?
Right, you're absolutely right. There were 3 or 4 potential eye catchers here, and I've not gone for the ones who had involved in trouble looking running. I've gone for the one who went widest of all, because I think she might be the one who's best value next time. There's so many. Every time I watch it, I see a different eye catcher in this race, but.
You've just seen another one just there, have you?
Well, no. I watched it 2 or 3 times originally, and you could pick out a different one every time. She was down the outside. I think the ones who found trouble in running up the rail, I think they'll be about the price they should be and no more next time, because I think they were fairly well spotted. The one that just gets an uninterrupted run, but perhaps was racing on the slower part of the track, which I think Sweet Scott was, I think might be the one that's under bet next time. I might be wrong. As I always say, you can never predict these, but
It was quite an interesting one, though, wasn't it? Because for Roger Teale's horse, Surrey Storm, had a bad draw and then came across and counteracted that.
Yeah.
I saw the connections of Elbow Beach afterwards. Did you see that run? They were felt hard done by finishing fourth, so you could make a case for a few there.
It's worth watching a few times because you could make a case that nearly everything in the first 6 or 7 was unlucky in some way, but I was looking for the one that might be under bet. Trained by Amy Weaver, again, not a particularly massively high profile, that yard. The yard has done very well, but not a huge yard. Owned by Gina's mum, Gina's parents as well, that horse. So
Gina.
Gina, yeah.
She owns the yard. They own
No,
the yard.
they don't own the yard. They own that horse that we've just watched.
Oh,
yeah.
that's all they suddenly bought the yard. Do they? Well, there we are. Gina ought to be doing this programme.
She should.
Well, you're not enjoying this?
I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I'm just agreeing with you. I don't like disagreeing with you, Robert.
No. Well, I don't mind. A lot of people do disagree. I've already had a lot of disagreements today, but luckily I'm a bit punchy, so I can fight back. Oh, really hurt. West Coast Dream. We can see now trained. Oh, he's a man. Roy Brotherton. Remember Rita's Rock Ape a few years ago?
Gosh, yes.
Probably. Do you?
Yes, I do remember Rita's Rock
Anyway,
Ape.
let's wax lyrical about West Coast Dream, who finishes 8th in this 5 furlong SIS live handicap.
This was an interesting race because there was tons of pace on paper, and I think they went fast enough as well. And the horses on the far side, drawn low, I thought had the better of it, even though the winner, Ajard, comes more down the centre of the course. And I like the way that I didn't like the way that West Coast Dream hung right off the bridle. That's the negative. But I like the fact that he lasted longer of the ones that raced more towards the stand side during the very early stages, and I don't think that actually shows quite how well he ran for a long way.
What does the
in his
hanging
final
tell you,
position.
though? Does that concern you if you were going to plunge on next time?
Up to a point. If you see him drawn close to a right-hand rail, you'd be
happy.
interested.
Yeah.
I'd also like to see him on slightly softer ground. I know they had some rain that day, but he's got a good record on soft and heavy ground. And I don't think it was soft or heavy that day, and he might not hang quite so badly if he gets plenty of cut in the ground. And I just thought he's now run twice, shown speed both occasions. He's with, again, a relatively unfashionable trainer, I think you'd agree.
A very, very able trainer.
Yeah, but in terms of the price that he's likely to be, I think he might be a bit overpriced next time, and that's what I'm looking for when I look for the Eyecatchers. He showed a lot of speed. He handles giving the ground very well. So I'd ideally like to see him drawn close to a right-hand rail next time, but you can't have everything. But
Roy Brotherton, we know you can do the job, that's for sure. West Coast Dream. But there were lots of not old friends, but horses we know well. Ajard, who's been in great form. Ted Powell's horse, Taurus Twins. Oh, I mean, reads like a who's who of moderate 5 furlong handicappers, but win their races, don't they?
there were a few in good form coming into it.
moderate in a nicest sort of way.
Yeah, I think it'll work out all right, that race. There were a few that were in reasonable form. The horse of Jeremy Gasks, I think, ran quite a nice race as well, whose name I can't remember.
Sutton Vini.
That's right, ridden by the good £7 claimer that they have.
Raul de Silva, he's
Raul
good.
De Silva, he's impressed me so far.
I didn't mean moderate. But you know what I mean. They're all rated
old
in
familiars,
the 80s, old familiar ones, and they'll be hovering around that mark. So there we go. That's a list of Hugh's eye catchers. We'll take a break now on the form factor. I long to call it the form focus. I don't know why, because it's the Friday focus, but the form factor is the name of the programme. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll be paying a visit to Perth to get the latest news from there. It was raining last time we spoke to Gordon.